A gardener's first brush with begonias. A time lapse forward. Every gardener has a plant that marks a turning point. A moment when a casual interest blossoms into a profound connection. For me, that plant was the begonia. It wasn't an elaborate cultivar or a rare specimen that first caught my eye, but a simple, crimson-flowered wax begonia in a local nursery. Its waxy leaves and constant profusion of blooms seemed to radiate a quiet, dependable joy. It was a plant that promised beauty without fuss. A dependable workhorse in a world of finicky flora. At the time, I was unaware of the vast, intricate world hidden within the genus Begonia. I did not know that this simple, bedding plant was just one small facet of a family that includes colossal, woody specimens, delicate terrarium inhabitants, and leaves that look more like an artist's palette than botanical structures. My initial purchase was the first step on a journey. A quiet beginning that would unfold over the seasons. A living time lapse chronicling my growing understanding and appreciation for this extraordinary plant family. The big picture, begonia history, taxonomy, and foundational types. A journey through time, the discovery and naming of a global genus. The story of the begonia begins not in a modern greenhouse, but in the untamed rainforests of the Caribbean. The genus was first formally described and drawn by a French monk and botanist, Charles Plumier, during an expedition on behalf of King Louis XIV in 1689–90. Plumier, with an eye for plants of economic and medical interest, named his discovery in honor of his patron, Michel Bégon de la Picardie, who served as the governor of the French Caribbean colonies. This act of naming immortalized the plant and its patron in the annals of botany. While the name is rooted in French history, the plant itself is a citizen of the world. Begonias are distributed throughout most tropical and subtropical regions, from the rainforests of Central and South America to Africa and Asia. They have been found thriving in a variety of challenging environments, from the understory of dense rainforests where they compete fiercely for light, to precarious perches on steep slopes and rocks near waterfalls. This incredible adaptability, refined over thousands of years of evolution, explains why they are so ideal for crossbreeding, leading to the thousands of hybrids cultivated by both commercial growers and hobbyists today. Modern botanical expeditions continue to uncover new species, such as the rare and endangered Begonia terroir discovered on the Philippines' Palawan Island as recently as 2011. Beyond their ornamental value, begonias have a rich history of human use. The leaves and flowers of some species are known to be edible, and First Nations peoples have historically utilized begonias in their plant medicines for centuries. Botany 101. Understanding the asymmetrical beauty. The begonia genus is a member of the Begoniaceae family within the order Cucurbitales, a classification that includes over 2.100 species, ranking it as the 8th largest genus of flowering plants as of 2023. While diverse in appearance, all members of the family share key botanical characteristics. Most are perennial herbs with semi-succulent stems, and they can grow from a variety of structures, including fibrous root balls, thick rhizomes, or tubers. A defining feature of the family is its foliage. Begonia leaves are typically simple, with a single blade, but they are uniquely asymmetrical, with one side of the leaf much larger than the other. They also have paired stipules at their base. The plant's floral structure is equally distinctive. Begonias are monoecious, meaning they bear both male and female flowers on the same plant. The male flowers are characterized by two petal-like sepals, two petals, and numerous stamens, while the female flowers have a uniquely winged, inferior ovary that is often triangular in shape. The resulting fruit is a dry, winged capsule that splits to reveal numerous minute seeds. The Great Divide, an introduction to the 4 main begonia types. For gardeners, the most practical way to understand the begonia genus is not through its complex botanical classification, but through its horticultural categories, which are based on growth habits and root structure. 4 main categories are widely recognized by growers: fibrous-rooted, tuberous, rhizomatous, and hardy begonias. Fibrous-rooted This is a vast and popular category that includes wax begonias, cane begonias, and angel wing begonias. They are characterized by a standard, thin, fibrous root ball. Their leaves are often rounded and waxy, and they are known for the continuous, profuse blooming habits. Tuberous. These begonias grow from a fleshy, round, potato-like tuber that stores nutrients, allowing the plant to go dormant and survive unfavorable conditions. They are cultivated primarily for their large, showy, and often frilly flowers that bloom from midsummer until the first frost. Rhizomatous. This group is defined by its creeping, fleshy stems, or rhizomes, that grow along the surface of the soil. While they do produce flowers, they are primarily grown for their extraordinary foliage, which comes in a stunning array of shapes, colors, and textures. Rex begonias are a subgroup of the rhizomatous types. Hardy, a smaller, less common group that belongs to the species Begonia grandis. As the name implies, they can survive winter outdoors in cooler climates, USDA zones 6 to 7, making them a true perennial in many southern gardens. The following information provides a quick reference for these key distinctions. Fibrous-rooted begonias have a thin, fibrous root ball. Their primary appeal is both flowers and foliage. With an upright, mounding, or trailing growth habit, they are hardy in zones 9-11, often grown as annuals. Examples include the wax begonia, B. semperflorens, and cane begonia, B. maculata. Tuberous begonias grow from a fleshy, potato-like tuber. They are grown primarily for their flowers. With an upright or trailing growth habit, they are hardy in zones 9-11 but can be overwintered in cooler zones. Examples include the Non-Stop series and Selenia series. Rhizomatous begonias have a creeping, fleshy rhizome. They are grown for their foliage. With a mounding or creeping growth habit, they are often grown indoors, with some hardy to zones 6 to 9. Examples include the iron cross, B. masoniana, and eyelash begonia, B. bowery, as well as Rex begonias. Hardy begonias have tubers or fibrous roots. Their appeal is both flowers and foliage. With an upright, mounding growth habit, they are hardy in zones 6 to 9. An example is Begonia grandis. Time-lapse segment 1. The seed is sown. My journey began in late February. The days were still short, but the promise of spring felt like a tangible, hopeful energy. I purchased a packet of wax begonia seeds, a minuscule, almost dust-like collection of potential life. The instructions were specific and spoke of a meticulous, almost sacred process. I filled a small seed tray with a fine-textured, moist potting mix and, as the guide instructed, sowed the seeds directly on the surface without burying them, knowing they needed light to germinate. I misted the soil with a spray bottle and covered the tray with clear plastic film, creating a miniature humid world. My workspace was my kitchen counter, which stayed consistently warm at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, well within the ideal germination range of 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I also set up a fluorescent grow light, ensuring the future seedlings would receive the 14 hours of light a day they needed for sturdy growth. The waiting began. It was a time of quiet observation, checking the soil daily, and watching for the first, minuscule signs of life. I was not just sowing seeds, I was nurturing an idea. A feeling of connection to the natural world. The workhorse begonias, fibrous-rooted and tuberous. The enduring wax begonia, fibrous-rooted. The wax begonia, Begonia semperflorens cultorum, is a quintessential fibrous-rooted begonia. A true workhorse of the gardening world, prized for its continuous blooming habit and waxy, rounded leaves. This type is arguably the most widely grown begonia worldwide. Its leaves can be glossy green, bronze, or reddish-brown, and its small, vibrant flowers come in shades of red, pink, and white. Unlike other begonia types, their root systems are simple fibrous networks that do not grow from rhizomes or tubers. Their fibrous root system gives them an exceptional tolerance for a wide range of conditions, making them a fantastic gateway plant for those new to gardening. They are forgiving of a less than perfect watering schedule and can be relatively drought tolerant once established. While they prefer consistently moist soil, they are less prone to the catastrophic root rot that can plague other begonia types. This inherent hardiness stems directly from their simple, yet effective, root structure, which is less susceptible to the primary cause of begonia problems, improper watering. Their resilience is a direct outcome of their morphology. Wax begonias are a low-maintenance choice that can thrive in a variety of light conditions, from deep shade to full sun, though they appreciate some afternoon shade in hotter climates. Bronze-leaved varieties, in particular, tend to perform better in sunnier spots. They thrive in well-draining, fertile soil and require only basic care, such as occasional fertilization every 4 to 6 weeks during the growing season to encourage new blooms. Trimming away leggy or dead growth helps maintain a compact, bushy appearance. Their dense, mounded growth habit makes them ideal for garden beds, borders, and container plantings, where they fill gaps with reliable color. The grandiose tuberous begonia. In stark contrast to the wax begonia's understated dependability is the tuberous begonia, Begonia times tuber hybrida. A plant grown almost exclusively for its spectacular, flamboyant flowers. These begonias are distinguished by a fleshy, round tuber that acts as a water and nutrient storage organ, allowing the plant to enter a dormant period. This adaptation, originally evolved in their native Andes to survive cold winters, creates a high-stakes dynamic for the gardener. The payoff is a profusion of large, showy flowers in a rainbow of colors, including white, pink, red, orange, and yellow, but the risk of loving them to death is high. The primary challenge with tuberous begonias is overwatering, a direct result of their water-storing tubers. Gardeners can easily fall into the trap of oversaturating the soil, leading to root rot. As one expert noted, the biggest problem with this type of begonia is operator error in the form of overwatering. This means that while they are heavy feeders that require consistent watering during the growing season, a delicate balance must be maintained to avoid soggy soil. The cultivation of tuberous begonias is a seasonal process. Spring. Gardeners in cooler climates get a jump start by potting the tubers indoors about 2 to 3 months before the last frost, placing them in a shallow container with the concave side facing up. It is crucial to water sparingly at this stage to prevent water from pooling in the hollow of the tuber and causing rot. Summer. Once the weather is consistently warm and the soil temperature reaches 60 degrees Fahrenheit, the plants can be hardened off and moved outdoors. Throughout the summer, they should be fertilized consistently with a high phosphorus fertilizer to support their continuous blooming. They perform best in filtered light or partial shade, protected from intense afternoon sun and high winds. Autumn, winter, overwintering, as the days shorten and temperatures drop. Tuberous begonias naturally enter dormancy before the first killing frost. The tubers must be dug up, their stems cut back to a few inches, and allowed to cure, dry, for several days. The tubers are then stored in a cool, dark, and dry location at a temperature of 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Packed in a medium like peat moss, vermiculite, or sawdust to protect them until spring. The following outlines the process of overwintering tuberous begonias, a vital step for perennial success in non-tropical zones. Preparation. Gradually reduce watering and stop fertilizing at the end of August. This encourages the plant to store energy in its tuber and prepare for dormancy. Digging. Dig up the tubers after the foliage yellows or after the first killing frost. This ensures the plant has stored maximum energy for the winter. Curing. Cut stems to about 5 inches and allow tubers to dry indoors for several weeks. Curing helps the tuber form a protective outer layer, preventing rot during storage. Cleaning. Gently remove dry stems and excess soil from the cured tuber. This prevents rot from any remaining plant matter or soil. Do not wash the tubers. Storing. Place tubers in a perforated plastic bag or box filled with a dry medium like peat moss or vermiculite. The perforated bag allows for air circulation while the medium protects the tubers from desiccation. Placement. Store in a cool, dark, and dry place with temperatures between 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. A cool, consistent temperature is critical. A spare refrigerator or unheated basement can work. Inspection. Check tubers occasionally throughout the winter for signs of rot or shriveling. Discard any damaged or soft tubers immediately to prevent the spread of decay to healthy ones. Versus. Wax versus tuberous begonias. The contrast between these two popular begonia types highlights the diversity of the genus. While the wax begonia is the ultimate bedding plant, providing dependable foliage and flowers throughout the season, the tuberous begonia is a high-reward garden ornament, celebrated almost exclusively for its breathtaking, showy blooms. The wax begonia's fibrous roots make it a low-maintenance perennial in warm climates and a reliable annual in cooler ones, tolerating a wide range of light conditions. In contrast, the tuberous begonia's existence as a perennial outside of zones 9-11 is a seasonal project, requiring the gardener to meticulously dig, cure, and store the tubers for the next year. The wax begonia is a quiet promise of color. The tuberous begonia is a magnificent spectacle. Time-lapse segment 2. Maturing and finding their purpose. My begonia seeds germinated 10 days later. A small miracle in a tiny tray. The first 2 leaves, so impossibly small and delicate, marked the beginning of their journey. As they grew, I transplanted the seedlings, each into its own small pot. The waxy, rounded leaves of the wax begonias unfurled, a vibrant green. For a few, the leaves began to darken, taking on a bronze hue, a sign of their impending readiness for more sun. By late May, with the danger of frost finally past, it was time to move them outdoors. I chose a spot for my bronze-leaved begonias in a sunnier garden bed. A small patch that received morning sun and was shaded in the afternoon. For the green-leaved varieties, I selected a shadier border next to a fence. It was in this process of careful placement that the plants began to reveal their individual characters, their preferred environments dictating their purpose. The mounded, compact shapes of the wax begonias made them perfect for filling in the landscape, a natural complement to other garden plants. As they matured and their first small buds appeared, I felt a new sense of pride, not just as a caretaker, but as an architect of a small, living space. The artist's palette. The foliage-forward begonias. The regal Rex begonia. Rex begonias, Begonia rex cultorum, are a subgroup of the larger rhizomatous begonia family. But they are so distinct in their spectacular foliage that they are often discussed as their own category. These are the undisputed artists of the begonia world, prized for their impossibly colorful, patterned, and spiraled leaves. Unlike other begonias, their flowers are often considered insignificant, as the true visual spectacle is in their leaves. Their dramatic appearance is often matched by a particular set of care requirements. Rex begonias are primarily grown as houseplants and prefer bright, indirect light year-round. They need less light than many other types and can even thrive under fluorescent lights, making them an excellent choice for indoor cultivation. The very features that make the Rex begonia so visually appealing, its textured, velvety, or hairy leaves, also make it uniquely vulnerable to fungal diseases like powdery mildew. Water sitting on the leaf surface creates a breeding ground for these pathogens. This creates a paradox for the gardener. While the plant enjoys high humidity, up to 50 to 75%, the most common method of providing it, misting, is a serious risk. Instead, successful cultivation relies on alternative methods, such as placing the plant on a water-filled pebble tray or using a humidifier nearby, which increases ambient humidity without wetting the leaves. Rex begonias also require a light, airy, and fast-draining, peat-based soil, because their root systems are fine and grow horizontally from a shallow rhizome. They are particularly sensitive to deep pots, where water can accumulate at the bottom and cause root rot. A shallow pot, where the soil can partially dry out between waterings, is the key to a thriving plant. versus Rex versus other rhizomatous begonias. The distinction between Rex and other rhizomatous begonias is one of degree rather than kind. All Rex begonias are, by definition, rhizomatous, but they are a specific subgroup derived from the species Begonia rex. The key identifier of a Rex hybrid is often a telltale variation in its leaf pattern, a dark border and center with a light ring in the middle. While other rhizomatous types also have beautiful, showy foliage, they tend to lean toward more earthy tones of green, brown, and black, whereas Rex hybrids boast a wider, more vibrant palette of red, burgundy, and silver. The architectural cane begonia. Cane begonias are another subgroup of the fibrous-rooted category, but they are so unique in their architectural structure that they warrant their own discussion. Characterized by the tall, upright, woody stems that resemble bamboo canes, these begonias are valued for both their foliage and the pendulous clusters of flowers. Their leaves are often asymmetrical and distinctly wing-shaped, a feature that earned them the common name, angel wing begonia. Cane begonias are relatively easy to care for and can tolerate a wider range of conditions than their Rex counterparts. They need more light than Rexes, preferring bright, filtered or indirect light to prevent leggy, spindly growth and encourage more flowers. While they appreciate high humidity, they also need good airflow to prevent fungal diseases from stagnant, moist air. A classic example is the polka dot begonia, Begonia maculata, which requires bright indirect light, well-aerated soil that dries slightly between waterings, and temperatures between 64 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. The creeping rhizomatous begonia. Apart from the Rexes, a large number of rhizomatous begonias are grown for the unique, textured foliage and creeping habit. These plants grow from a fleshy rhizome that spreads horizontally across the soil surface, sending up showy leaves and flower stalks. Their preference for a shallow root system means they thrive in shallow containers where the roots can easily access water without the risk of the lower soil becoming soggy. Pruning is an important part of their care, as cutting back older rhizomes helps keep the plant full and contained. Notable examples include the iron cross begonia, B. masoniana, which features bright green leaves with a distinctive chocolate brown, iron cross, pattern, and the eyelash begonia, B. bowery, known for its heart-shaped leaves and fine hairs along the edges. Time-lapse segment 3, the first grand bloom and the unexpected gift. I had a cane begonia that I was growing primarily for its dramatic, silver-spotted leaves. For months, its tall, erect stems and intricate foliage were the main attraction. Then, one late spring afternoon, I noticed a stalk emerging from the top of the plant. Over the next few days, it unfurled into a pendulous cluster of delicate pink blossoms. It was a spectacular surprise, a beautiful gift from a plant I had been cultivating for a different purpose entirely. The feeling was one of profound connection. The blooms were not a product of my direct action, but a manifestation of the plant's health and happiness. It felt like a moment of trust, a plant revealing a hidden part of its nature, a secret beauty that only a patient gardener would be privy to. This moment transformed my perception of begonias. They were not just static objects of beauty, but living, dynamic beings with their own rhythms and cycles. Propagation. Multiplying the magic. The art of begonia propagation. A detailed guide. One of the most rewarding aspects of begonia cultivation is their remarkable ability to be propagated, allowing gardeners to multiply their collection and share the joy with others. Propagation is not just a technical process, it is a cycle of resilience and renewal. A struggling or leggy plant can be cut back, and its parts can be used to create new, healthy specimens, giving it a second chance at life. There are several effective methods for propagation, each tailored to different begonia types. Propagation by stem cutting, a step-by-step tutorial. This method is highly effective for fibrous-rooted and cane-stemmed begonias. Select a cutting. Choose a healthy, non-flowering stem that is 3 to 4 inches long and has at least 2 leaves. Make the cut. Use sterilized scissors or pruners to make a diagonal cut just below a node, the point where a leaf emerges. Remove the lower leaves to prevent them from rotting once submerged or buried. Choose your medium. Water propagation. Place the cutting in a clear glass jar with enough water to submerge the leafless nodes. Change the water every 2 to 3 days to keep it fresh. Roots will begin to appear in a few weeks. Soil propagation. Fill a pot with a moist, well-draining soil mix, amended with perlite is ideal, and poke a hole in the center. Dip the cut end in rooting hormone powder for best results. Then plant the cutting in the hole, patting the soil gently around the stem. Keep the soil consistently moist until new growth indicates rooting has occurred. Typically in 4 to 6 weeks. Propagation by leaf cutting, an ingenious method for foliage types. This is a unique and effective method for propagating Rex and some rhizomatous begonias. It takes advantage of the plant's remarkable ability to regenerate from a single leaf. The process involves taking a mature, healthy leaf and cutting its major veins. The leaf is then pressed gently onto a moist potting mix, with the cut veins making contact with the soil. Small plantlets will eventually form at the points of the cuts, which can then be potted up once they have developed a few leaves. Propagation from seed, for the patient and meticulous gardener. While more difficult and time-consuming than cuttings, growing begonias from seed is a rewarding challenge. The seeds are incredibly fine and must be sown on the surface of a moist, well-draining seed starting mix, as they require light to germinate. The seed tray must be kept in a warm, humid environment with consistent temperatures between 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Seedlings are notoriously slow-growing and need to be provided with at least 14 hours of light a day to ensure they develop into sturdy plants. Time-lapse segment 4. A fuller, busier plant. The act of propagation became a new phase of my gardening journey. The first time I saw a tiny white root emerge from a stem cutting in a jar of water, I felt a surge of joy. It was a tangible sign that the plant was not just surviving, but actively creating new life. I learned to watch for the subtle signs of progress and to be patient. I started taking cuttings from my larger, leggier plants, and in a few months, I had a collection of baby begonias. The hobby of growing begonias expanded from a singular relationship with one plant to a community. I began sharing my rooted cuttings with friends and family, passing on a piece of my original plant and the joy it had given me. My home became a lush, vibrant space filled with the cascading leaves of new cane begonias and the spiraling patterns of newly propagated Rexes. The plant's incredible resilience, its ability to come back from a simple trim and multiply itself, taught me that gardening is not just about nurturing life, but about an endless cycle of creation and renewal. Troubleshooting your begonia, a gardener's problem-solving almanac. The diagnostic triangle of light, water, and humidity. For any plant, a sudden decline can feel disheartening. But for begonias, a clear diagnostic pattern emerges. The vast majority of begonia problems can be traced back to a core imbalance in a fundamental trio of environmental factors: light, water, and humidity. These three elements are deeply interconnected, and a problem with one can manifest as a symptom that seems to point to another. For example, yellowing leaves can be a classic sign of overwatering, but they can also be caused by insufficient light. Brown, crispy leaves could mean the plant is getting too much sun or that it is suffering from a lack of humidity. Approaching problems with this diagnostic triangle in mind helps the gardener move from a shotgun approach to a methodical, observational one, allowing for precise and effective intervention. The following information provides a guide to common begonia problems and the potential causes and solutions. If you see yellowing leaves and mushy stems, the primary causes are overwatering, poor drainage, or low light levels. The solutions are to adjust watering to only when the top inch of soil is dry. Repot into a container with better drainage or use a more porous soil mix. And move the plant to a brighter location. Brown, crispy leaves are caused by underwatering, too much direct sun, or low humidity. To fix this, increase watering frequency, ensuring soil stays evenly moist. Move the plant to a shadier location or provide filtered light. and increase humidity with a humidifier or pebble tray. Bud or flower drop is caused by underwatering, dry air, or sudden changes in temperature. To remedy this, ensure the soil is not drying out completely between waterings. Increase ambient humidity with a humidifier, and keep the plant away from cold drafts or HVAC vents. Rotting stems, crown is a sign of overwatering. High humidity with poor air circulation, or water on the leaves. The solutions are to water at the base of the plant, not on the foliage. Not let the plant sit in soggy soil, and ensure good air circulation with a fan or by spacing plants apart. If you see white powdery spots on leaves, powdery mildew. The causes are high humidity with poor air circulation, wet leaves, or overwatering. To address this, improve air circulation, avoid misting or overhead watering, remove affected leaves immediately, and apply a fungicide if necessary. Leggy growth and fewer flowers are caused by insufficient light. The solution is to move the plant to a brighter location with more filtered light, or supplement with a grow light for 8 to 10 hours a day. The most common mistakes: overwatering versus underwatering. The line between overwatering and underwatering is a common point of failure for many begonia gardeners. Overwatering is the single most frequent cause of problems, leading to root rot and mushy stems. The plant's symptoms can be subtle at first, with leaves yellowing at the base before they eventually drop. A telltale sign is soil that remains perpetually soggy, which is why a good, fast-draining potting mix is so critical. In contrast, an underwatered begonia will typically have dry, crispy leaves and stunted growth, while begonias are quite forgiving of a little neglect. Prolonged dryness can be fatal. The key to avoiding both extremes is to let the top inch of the soil dry out before watering again and to ensure the pot has proper drainage holes. A note on pests and toxicity. While generally hardy, begonias can be susceptible to common pests like aphids, mealybugs, and spider mites. Early detection is key, and infestations can often be managed by wiping the leaves or using an insecticidal soap. It is important to note that begonias are mildly toxic to humans and pets. The most toxic part of the plant is the underground root system, which contains soluble calcium oxalates. Ingestion can cause excessive salivation, vomiting in pets, and mouth irritation. Care should be taken to keep the plants out of reach of children and pets. Time-lapse segment 5. The seasons change. My begonia journey was not without its failures. One hot, dry summer, I noticed the edges of my tuberous begonia's leaves were turning brown and crispy. I immediately assumed it was a lack of water and began watering more frequently. The problem only worsened. It was in this moment of frustration that I went back to the research. Looking for answers, I learned that the symptoms of underwatering and low humidity can be identical. My overzealous watering, while an attempt to solve the problem, was exacerbating it by creating conditions ripe for root rot. The realization was a turning point. I learned to step back and observe the plant's environment more critically. I moved the begonia to a spot with more dappled light and grouped it with other plants to increase humidity. I bought a cheap moisture meter to check the soil depth, realizing that a dry top layer did not necessarily mean the whole pot was dry. This experience transformed my relationship with my plants. It taught me that failure is an integral part of the process. A crucial lesson that leads to a deeper, more nuanced understanding. The begonia was no longer just a plant, it was a teacher. Cultivation. A year-round begonia calendar. The begonia's life cycle is a graceful dance with the seasons, and understanding this rhythm is the key to a thriving plant. Spring, the season of rebirth and planting. This is the season of new beginnings. For outdoor gardeners, spring is the time to start seeds indoors, pot up overwintered tubers, or purchase new plants from a nursery. As the last frost date approaches, it is crucial to gradually acclimate your plants to outdoor conditions through a process called hardening off. This involves moving the plants to a shaded, protected outdoor location for short periods, gradually increasing their exposure to wind and sun over 2 weeks until they are ready to be moved to their permanent outdoor home. For indoor gardeners, Spring is the ideal time to repot or propagate new cuttings, as the plants are in an active growth phase. Summer, sustaining growth, blooms, and humidity. Summer is the peak season for begonias. Consistent watering is crucial during this period, especially for container plants, as they are not drought tolerant and can dry out quickly. To encourage abundant blooms, a consistent fertilization schedule is necessary. Typically a balanced liquid fertilizer applied weekly or bi-weekly. Pruning and deadheading spent flowers will keep the plants looking tidy and redirect energy toward new growth and blooms. It is also important to protect the fragile foliage from high winds and scorching afternoon sun. Autumn and winter, preparing for dormancy and indoor living. As the days shorten and temperatures drop below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, begonias begin their transition to winter. This is the time to reduce watering and stop fertilizing, signaling to the plant that it is time to slow down. For tuberous begonias, this means digging up and storing the tubers before the first hard frost. For fibrous-rooted and cane begonias, the decision must be made to either treat them as annuals or bring them indoors to overwinter as houseplants. If brought indoors, the plant should be placed in a spot with bright, indirect light and its watering should be significantly reduced. Time-lapse segment 6, the full circle. My first begonia, the simple wax begonia, now a multi-year companion, has become a symbol of this cycle. It has grown from a tiny seedling into a robust, mounded specimen. I have watched it endure hot summers, thrive in humid spells, and gracefully slow down in the cooler months. The first blooms were a triumph. But the greatest feeling came from the successful overwintering of my first tuberous begonias, a process that felt like a secret knowledge passed down through generations of gardeners. The small, crinkly tubers I had dug up and stored in a cool basement felt like a promise of new life. A compact capsule of future beauty waiting for spring's arrival. My begonia collection has expanded to include rexes, canes, and other rhizomatous types, each with its own character and care needs. I have learned to read their leaves for signs of stress and to adjust my approach with patience. The process is a living, breathing time lapse, a constant reminder that with a little observation and care, even the most challenging plant can become a source of endless wonder. Conclusion: a tapestry of green and silver. The begonia genus, with its staggering diversity of over 2,000 species, is a testament to nature's artistry and adaptability. From the reliable wax begonia, a durable workhorse for any garden, to the dramatic tuberous begonia, an annual spectacle of color, and the impossibly intricate rex begonia, a living canvas for a sunless room, there is a begonia for every gardener and every space. The analysis reveals that the plant's unique morphology, whether it be a fibrous root ball, a water-storing tuber, or a creeping rhizome, directly dictates its care requirements and vulnerabilities. By understanding the causal link between a plant's structure and its needs, a gardener can move from simple cultivation to true mastery. Ultimately, the begonia's appeal lies in its ability to be a companion through the seasons. It is a plant that challenges and rewards in equal measure, its problems often pointing to a deeper lesson about balance in light, water, and humidity. It is a source of renewal through propagation and a canvas for personal expression. A begonia is more than just a plant, it is a living tapestry, constantly changing and evolving, inviting us to be a part of its ultimate time lapse.